If you give me 2 seconds of your time, I'd just like to say a massive thank you for following me so far. This really can't be done without you, the listeners. So thank you. Welcome to Underdog to Owner podcast, where we dive into inspiring stories from entrepreneurs and innovators. I'm your host, Paul Atkins, and today I'm excited to be joined by Jamie Houston. Jamie has built his career in waste management and is someone I really respect. Serious work ethic, always positive, and always pushing to improve. Jamie, welcome to Underdog to Owner.
Oh, Jamie, I appreciate you coming, mate.
You're welcome.
Got a little chat off air, and obviously we know each other, don't we, quite well?
Yeah.
We're in the same kind of circle, same kind of it was village, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone knows everyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll start with your early days.
Yeah. Childhood.
Yeah, childhood. I mean, when we talk about childhood to everyone else, it's you get kind of the same stories about.
Yeah, I think. Do you know why? I think because back then we didn't have mobile phones, didn't have computers and tellies and all that type of thing as much as.
Yeah,
we went out and grafted and went out and played and worked and that type of stuff, and that's how I was brought up. You know, I think my dad, when he realised I was a boy, he must have thought I've got a labourer here, I've got a right hand man here, and that's how it was. And I think, but no matter what anybody says, your childhood is what sets you up. It's your foundations for how you're going to live the rest of your life. Do you know that? I
agree. I totally agree. I think with your father, was he a big figure in your life? Was he?
Yeah, mum and dad. Me dad worked on pipelines, so he worked away from home a lot. Yep. You know, and that's graft. You know, he was going to Algeria, third world Bangladesh.
Oh my God.
Was going for 2 years at a time and working in conditions that. You know, would come back with his camera and show us some of the pictures, and you just could not get your head around how he could work there. So, mum was a tough cookie. She was the man of the house. Yeah. You know, we had lovely things when we were young. We had horses and bikes and stuff like that. But Christ be did we have to work for them?
Yeah,
you know, that was
nothing was given.
I just genuinely, I can honestly say to you, I never knew there was a Saturday and Sunday. I just thought there was 7 days a week, and that's how you grafted, and that's how we were brought up.
That's what was installed. At an early age.
100%, without a shadow of a doubt.
I think I talk to a lot of people about that, the early days of people don't realise how important it is for kids to understand that the work ethic is...
Listen, I tell this to loads of people. I don't think I'm academically the cleverest person. No. I've got ADHD, I've got autism, I've got OCD, I've got it all in a pot. It's all mixed up. I don't know what level of what I've got, but I know I'm not normal. I do. But that came from when I was young. But so academically, I'll get by, and I'm getting better. I'm trying to be a bit more organised. But I say some of the cleverest people I know are doctors and solicitors. I know my solicitor, when I was selling my business, worked through the night. And I mean, we got takeaway pizzas. We're sitting there. We're putting a case for the next day. We're trying to organise this for case. Solicitors will work through the night. A doctor will work through the night. They will do a standard 14, 15, 16-hour day, an 18-hour shift, think nothing of it.
No.
So the academically clever people, they graft.
Yeah.
The people like me, I graft. And I've made money. I'm not as clever as them. I've probably made, the money is not irrelevant. But either way, what we've all got in common, whether I'm as clever as them as not, is I can do an 18, 20-hour day and not even think about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't faze me
one
bit. And that is where I try and say to people, if you can just get the work ethic right from the start, from a young age, and not feel sorry for yourself and lay around. And we all want to spoil our kids a little bit. It's a tough thing. I'm sure we'll talk about it soon. But again, you know, there were days I hated my father. I wanted, you know, my mates were all out playing and you're not going. We got a lot of work to do, and I used to hate him for it. Now I love him for it, and now I want my kids to be like that. Do you know
exactly. I was talking about it to a friend actually, and I was kind of saying like, there's not a lot I actually thank my stepdad, because he was an arse.
Yeah.
And he was an arse. But he gave me that. He gave me that, installed it into me at a very early age.
Even my mum.
Yeah.
My mum was driving, you know, my dad would let us drive. My dad would get annoyed with me if we didn't move a digger or a tractor or a car or a truck. Yeah. My brother was 11 years old and he could drive an articulated lorry and reverse it up our lane, you know, because that's how we were just brought up. My dad just said, what's the worst can happen? Put the back wheels in the edge or you hit a tree or something. My dad just didn't care. He was very laid back like that. he'd be absolutely strict about your table manners. You couldn't in there scrape your plate or
God.
smack your lips.
Oh, I don't.
My table manners were impeccable.
Mine too.
I could run around and throw things and smash windows and jump around like a boy and smash my motorbike into the side of my mum's car by mistake, and he wouldn't stress over it.
Really?
So it was the craziest lifestyle, but we worked. My mum worked so hard when my dad was away. My mum was a real grafter, a real loving person, and loved us all as family. But she knuckled down, and she had numerous jobs and run a house. My dad had a lovely house down in Malden, and she had to be the man of the house. And as we grew up, we became the men of the house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it.
So
yeah.
It's I think definitely is a bit of a setup for how you.
Childhood, but it was nice then, really. But you worked hard, but you had a nice, secure family. Everything was good. School, what was school like?
Yeah, school. Do you know what? I like school. I say that to the kids now. A lot of people used to skive off, and I liked being with my mates. It was football, wasn't it, and all that lot. And I was up here at Cornwallis, and
was you?
Yeah, at lunchtime we'd cross over and go up the woods, and but I was always back in class and never, and I was a bit of a lad at school.
Yeah,
one of the boys, and so I had some great. I like I say, I actually enjoyed school. I really did, and that lot. And when I was in the football team and rugby team, if you played sports, you got on better at school.
You did,
and stuff like that. So I've got to say, and that's when I started. I started working there. My mum and dad, when I was at primary school, my mum and dad, before my dad, he'd obviously go on these pipelines, and he'd have a year off or 2 years off or 18 months. And he'd be ducking and diving, he'd be into anything. He'd come from a haulage background. And he used to have Houston and Sons haulage, these lorries and tippers running around. Got out of that, went into the pipelines, realised, you could earn a lot of money in them days. It was all welding pipelines and stuff. And then they got into selling toys at boot fairs. So this was when the boot fairs were big.
Yeah, they were massive.
And a good friend of ours had all the catering and excellent. They were a very wealthy family, all running the catering side of it. So my mum and dad went to a wholesaler's, bought a lorry load of bloody cuddly toys, kids' toys, and all these Do you know what I mean? Real shit. Right? But back then I can't even think how old I was. I think I must have been about 10.
Yeah.
While I was walking around, 10, 11, a bit of swagger. And you'd have the little money pouch on the front of you. Yeah. And that was when hula hoops. Do you remember the hula hoops? Plastic hula hoops. You know, little bun there. My mum would give me a bundle of 10 plastic hula hoops. I'd have them over my shoulder. On this side, I'd have all the little cap guns. You remember you used to get a little lot of key ring, and it was like a little metal gun, and it had the little yellow caps and make a noise. And I'd have all them lined up there, and I look back now and think, how confident was I at 11 years old? I am walking in the crowds up and down the rows in the boots saying, come and get your hula hoops. Come and get your hula hoops. And I, as soon as I sold them, I would go back and have a go again, sell them like that. So that was how, they got out of that. They then bought a fancy dress business. My mum used to run the fancy dress business, work in the day, fancy dress of a night, running from home. They bought a cafe down in Brighton. School holidays, I was down at Shoreham, up at 5 o'clock every morning, drive to Shoreham, pick all the fresh bright bakery up on the way through, and then I started doing exactly the same thing. I'd have a box of ice creams. Yeah. My dad would send me down onto my little money belt, open, and I'd sell mini milks, little mini milks for whatever they were then, 10p.
Yeah, they weren't a lot, were they?
No. And I'd walk up and down, and when they was empty, I'd walk back and go again.
Brilliant.
So even when I look back, I'd even forgot about that. But, you in your mind, you just think, if I asked an 11, 12-year-old kid now to walk up the beach with
no chance,
no chance, they would do it.
Also, the parent probably wouldn't let him.
Yes,
right?
Of course it would.
Yeah, the days have changed.
The trouble you'd get into now would be phenomenal. So, they're a little bit ducky and diving.
Yeah, of course.
But you know what it was? It was graft. Whatever they did, and they thought nothing of doing a day's work at the cafe, coming home, making an appointment for 6 o'clock because half a dozen people wanted fancy dress, and you'd be up weekends and.
That's installed in you.
So actually, growing up it was normal to go and work.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I kind of try to do that with everyone. But I remember I was in Weymouth. We used to do the market stalls. Yeah. So my stepdad said to me, "Look, we're going to go to Weymouth, me and you, and we're going to put the market stalls up. And we're going to sell, obviously, and with camp and do all the things." So we did it for a week, and then we met some people, and they said to us, "Look, we got these dodgy tapes,
that's it.
We want you to be lookout." And I'm like, right, okay. My stepdad was like, go on, do it. Not hold up, this is illegal.
Yeah.
So I went with carrier bag, and I never forget it. Only me, I get stopped with the police with this bag full of the dodgy stuff, like all these tapes, and they were like, "What you doing?" And I was like, yeah. And look, they let me go, and it was harmless. But I could just remember the things that my parents would let me do.
Yeah.
Give me 2 seconds of your time. Again, thank you for your help. This really makes a big difference and truly can't be done without you. I've been overwhelmed by the support given so far. Please, if I can ask one thing, is to follow and share. We all know mental health is a massive part in all of our lives, and I know most of you have probably had to deal with it in your own lives. I just wanted to reach out to you, the audience, to make sure we all have a part to play in the following state. Grief and pain are heavy, and sometimes it feels like you're on your own, but you're not. If you're struggling, please know there are people out there that care and want to listen. Opening up isn't easy, but talking can help. You really matter. Your feelings matter. Reach out, whether it's a friend, a family, or a support line. Let's break the silence around mental health. You're not alone, and together we can get through this. I would also like to add, think about what you say to others, because it can truly have an effect on their well-being. Social media platforms must do better to protect the vulnerability of people's mental health. If you can take anything out of today, please be better. It's nice to be nice. Thank you.
And you just think to yourself, God, would I let my daughter do that now? And maybe I'm
At
not.
the time we wanted to play football, we wanted to be out with your mates. But
always.
do you know what? When you look back now, you think, that's the best education you ever get.
By a country mile. Do you know what? I love school as well, funny enough.
Yeah.
I was shocking, but I love school because, like you said, I was good at football.
Yeah.
I was all right at running. I was good at that side of it. So I was classified as a bit of a cool kid as such. But my education, I was as thick as shit. And literally,
listen,
there's different.
And the school then, I think now I'm struggling a little bit with education at the moment.
Yeah, me too, mate.
And now I know what I know in life, where I've got to, what I've had to go through.
Yeah.
Me and Richard started our business, and we just always used to say we're just a couple of secondary educated guys that are just having a go.
Yeah.
But listen, I don't want I want my kids to be at school. I don't want them to never miss a day of school and stuff like that. Even my stepkids now, but it begs to differ sometimes.
I agree.
When I look at some of what they're being taught, why they're being taught it, what they come out of school and they know is beyond me.
Oh, we talk about that quite a bit, actually, Jamie. And I think that it upsets me because both of my children have been let down by the education system.
Yeah.
And even like they're both at grammar.
Yeah.
Yeah. One dyslexic, as everyone knows. The other one's ADHD.
Yeah.
The ADHD, she's the youngest of the two. She's really struggled.
Yeah.
Like, she's really struggled.
Yeah.
But they haven't helped.
No.
They have literally, we got her self-diagnosed.
Yeah.
And the eldest as well, she found out when she was at university. So they've both been through these schools.
Yeah.
The problem is that if you're in a pen, like a square pen, right, and you don't fit in there, you're an outcast. You're a black sheep. And that's the problem with the system.
Listen, don't be teaching my kids how to run a business and what you should do and you shouldn't do, and you're working in a school education on 40 grand a year.
I agree.
I don't mean to be disrespectful to teach. I don't mean it like that at all.
I'm with you.
The way they talk to them and what they think them children should know, and God forbid, when you talk about them children having them problems, and your children will be a shining example of this. When you're young, all them problems are. I was in trouble with the police.
Yeah,
me too. My mum always said to me, it was the most embarrassing day in her life when the school play, was it nursery?
Yeah.
Said to her, Mrs. Houston, you're going to have to find another nursery because he just can't sit still for 2 minutes. He's like a madman. And I was. But I wasn't nasty or naughty. I wasn't fighting.
No,
I just
mischief.
Loved it. I was mad. I was mental. I couldn't sit down and talk to me. My attention span was seconds.
Same as mine.
But when you're young, that weighs you down. Yeah, everyone classes you different. Do you know when you're older, it makes you an absolute winner.
It does.
I don't care what anybody says.
So with you.
Whether it's sports, whether it's business. I can tell you this now. We know them all. Most of wealthy, well-to-do men and women around in our little circle, ain't one of them switched on right.
No, 100%.
They're all tapped. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Because that is what makes you different.
It does.
That's what.
It
And
really
I know
does.
we need people. I need them. I need people in my life that just want to get up and work from 9 till 5
And go home.
and they just want their peaceful life.
Yeah.
I love people like that.
Me too.
Because without people like that, everyone would want to nick your own business and everyone wants to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. There wouldn't be a
Of course it is.
system.
Of course, absolutely not. So I totally get people like that, but it's the slightly one. So when children have got it, that's the only thing I would ever tell them. You know, don't stress over it. Who cares what
I agree.
helps, and get the right help, and parents can see it. But
Yeah.
look at it as an advantage. You're different to them other kids in a better way, a special way.
But the problem is, back in our day and going back, is you were made to feel that you didn't fit in, or I was made to feel like I was thick. Like, you know, I was told I was no good.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, and I don't think I don't think it's moved on massively. If I'm honest, they don't come out with those words no more. But they certainly don't help this situation. And then it gets to the end of their GCSEs or wherever they are. Then they have to sit in a classroom or, you know, and get treated like kids and have to, you know, perform for an hour or whatever it is for a GCSE, because I don't have them. But they have to perform. And if they don't perform, it could ruin the rest of, well, they feel like it's going to ruin the rest of, because it's so hyped up to believe that this is the only opportunity you've got that's going to make you get a good job.
Yeah.
But it can be so far away from the truth.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
it's so far.
I employ it through my life. I can't remember.
Yeah.
CVs are the biggest. I can't stand them. I love it when I have an HR department sifts through and sifts it all out. I've read CVs before and I've wanted to shred everybody else's CV because I truly think, thank you, Lord, I found the right man or lady for the job. I can't. If I wrote a CV perfect for what I'm looking for, the door opens and they walk in, I think, you've got about as much charisma as a bag of crisps. They just do not inspire me one bit. But then I've had other guys, and I'll never forget, there was one guy, and I was at Country Style then. I was I needed a transport manager, a transport a coordinator to work in the trade waste. And I put an advert out, and the CVs were shocking. And there were so many of them. And this one lad, and so what I always do with any CV is if I narrow them down, I try and go through, and you can tell almost the good and bad ones.
Yeah,
give or take. You've got to go with gut. I don't care what you say. It's all about gut feel. I get a good gut feel for that. I don't for that. And sometimes people can ask me why, and I can't even tell you, but I just know it's my gut. Just bear with me. Just trust me. And I remember I always then do a telephone call. And I think it's nice. Let's see how they answer the phone, and let's see how they hold a conversation. And within a 5-minute phone call, that's either on the yes pile or it's on the no pile. If it's on the yes pile, I'll get him in. I remember this one lad he went to Australia with his girlfriend, split up with his girlfriend, and had to come back home. He didn't have a job, and his friend said to him, while you're looking for a job, come on the council with me. They're looking for runners, so that in a dust cart you'll have a driver and the 2 boys that are out running with the bins. So as a young lad, he thought, I'll do that while I'm looking for a job. The minute he told everybody he was in a dust cart and he was a runner, his chances went down and down and down. And when I spoke to him, he was the loveliest, politest guy ever. And I remember talking to him, and he said, I just want someone, at the end of the conversation, I just want someone to give me a chance. I said, be in here tomorrow morning, when it was ever. And I'll never forget it, Beardo. He pulled up in a car and he was in a suit. He's come to a waste site in a suit. The loveliest lad you'll ever meet. I gave him the job. He started, I don't know, on 20 grand a year. And he's still with Countstyle now. He runs all the trade waste. He's got his whammy tab. He's got his CPC. He's got it all. He has absolutely,
I love that,
flourished. And it was just that one thing he said to me, because that's what I'd say to someone.
Exactly.
Just give me one chance. Just let me have a go. Let me prove to you that I can do. And I think that's what. So when these youngsters all stress over their GCSEs, their O levels, do you know what? Sometimes it's when someone walks in the room and goes, do you know what you've got to have? 3/4 likability factor.
That's it.
If you've got the likability factor, you're at the top of the ladder nearly there. You've got 2 pegs to go. I'll teach you the 2 pegs. That's easy. It's so simple.
It is so simple.
Don't stress over, I wasn't very good at Excel. Google it.
Who cares?
AI it. Do whatever they do today. You can learn stuff like that.
You can. And I tell my youngest, because she's different from my eldest. They're so different.
Yeah.
And I say to her, it don't matter. This does not define you. She has you know, she has these desires to be, you know, she follow her sister as such, go to university, and she wants to be a lawyer, and she's putting all this pressure on herself, right?
Yeah.
And I said to her, "You're going to be whatever you're going to be,
Yeah.
and there isn't. Listen, this is never going to define you. These GCSEs, look, do as well. Try to do as well as you can,
Yeah.
because anything in life, you
Yeah,
know,
of course it is.
get me on a football pitch, I'm going to
Yeah.
do as well as I can.
Yeah, that's exactly
You know,
it,
you put me in business, I'm going to do as well as I can.
Yeah.
I don't want to install that in her, but what I do want her to realise is the stress that they put these youngsters through at that age is, and I don't think it's warranted, and I don't think it's necessary. And I also think that the system is so broke where they just go, well, you know, you've spent, I don't know, 11 years at school, and this is your moment in an hour to now shine. And not everyone can do that.
No, of course.
And I think Sweden are very, like, they've changed the way they operate in schools now, which is, I think that's the way we've got to go. I think that, look, I don't want to go too deep into it, but, you know, the country's pretty much screwed at the moment, and I don't think schooling's at the top of our agenda. But I think if we start at the bottom, it's a bit like grassroots football. You start at the bottom, you work your way up, and it all starts at the bottom. It all starts at grassroots football, same as school. It all starts when they're young. Yeah. So we educate them at a very early age, but they don't want you, like you said, they don't want everyone to be an entrepreneur. No, they need a system, don't they? No. So obviously that's my opinion on school. Like I said, I'm
forever.
I'm about to say, but obviously,
I just think people just got to realise, don't stress over it too much.
Yeah, I
honestly,
agree.
They put so much pressure on these kids and that like. And I see all this when exam results day, and I feel anxious for them.
I know.
Who cares?
I can see the worry on my daughter's
Some of the richest men and women I know still struggle to read and write properly now. Who cares?
Honestly.
Find people to do it for you. You've got computers, you've got anything there can do it.
That's it. I totally agree, Jamie. And I think everyone that I've sat with has got the same opinion. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. And every single person that I've interviewed so far, they've all got the same, they're off the spectrum. Like everyone's got something. Yeah. And I think there's more of us than not, if I'm honest with you.
Of course it is.
And I think I was a little bit not proud, I suppose, embarrassed to sit there and go, well, I'm in, you know, I didn't want to tell people I was dyslexic because I got made to believe that was, you're not right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's the problem now is I'm trying to talk about it a little bit more in my podcast because I want people to say, look, I'm fucking dyslexic here. Who cares? Who cares?
Honestly, where's it going to get you in life? Be a nice person. Do you know what? If you're a dyslexic person, if you find a wallet, you give it back to someone. You find someone's phone, you help them. Someone's fallen over, you help someone with their car. It doesn't matter what you got. You actually help someone. Do that. It make you feel like $1 million. It does.
And I'm with you. I'm with you all the way on it. And I think that's a message to anyone that's listening is that, you know, you can be nice.
Don't use it as an excuse.
No,
use it as a gift. Use it as a gift.
Yes. Listen, I'm with you on that, mate. And so obviously schooling was all right. And, you know, you've got now left school.
Yeah. Christ, I went roofing straight away. Yeah. Left school. Like, you go roofing. It's with my uncle, Mickey. It was my dad's side of the family. There was 5 brothers, the Houstons, and they was all brought up around Shetway, so they were some tough old cookies. And it was best banter in the world. Being a young lad. Yeah. You're getting picked up in the morning. You know, your mum's waking you up to go to work. You pack up and all that look like. But you go to work. You was up and down ladders all day. That was the old days when you had to bump them up on your roof. You know what it's like on your head, lifting them up. You know, carrying them up, bleeding battens. But my uncle loved they was all into football. So, you know, you'd to start early. He'd pick you up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You'd be finished by 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon because your body couldn't be up on that roof that long.
Yeah, of course.
And then we'd go down Moat Park. He used to put a net up, and there was 4 of us, and we just used to play a bit of football, tennis, and the banter was great.
Great days.
You know? So it was good. And as soon as I could drive, he used to let me use his truck of a weekend, and I was out doing a few cash jobs. And I was doing a bit of turf in people's gardens. I would just do anything.
Of course. Just a bit of money.
Make a few quid. Yeah, to go from that. So done a bit of roofing with my uncle. Then just before I left school, my dad, again, ducking and diving, a friend of his had a little road sweeper, and he'd bought it from an auction. He'd gone to Coxheath Parish Council, and they were going to pay him to sweep round the shops once a week. And this, he was a traveller boy, Lenny Arnold, the loveliest man you'll ever meet.
Really
lovely. And he said to my dad, he said, Pete, he said, I've been sweeping the roads, charging them a bit of money. He said, but now, he said, they want me to bloody litter pick and empty the bins. He said, I can't do that. My dad goes, I know someone who'll do that.
I knew what was coming.
Right? So he buys this little sweeper. It's like a little paddle sweeper. It's the funniest thing you've ever seen. I don't know how much he paid for it back in them days. So on a Sunday, I swear to God, I would bike from Marden up Linton Hill to go to Coxheath. I'd have black bags, have my litter picking stick. Bearing in mind, I went to school at Cornwallis. So you're less than a mile away from your school. It's a Sunday. And I honestly thought I was going to be sick, Beardo, biking up to Coxheath for the first time, thinking, please. I went as early as I could, hoping that none of my mates would see me.
Yeah.
Because now I'm litter picking, and I'm thinking. But that's how I've done. I don't mind. I biked, got there. And as you can imagine, after 1 week, it was every Sunday, every week, once a week. One started seeing me, two started seeing me. A few little lads started giving me a bit of banter at school. And I just shrug it off and it don't matter, I'm getting paid, look what what you're up to. And then I litter picked there one day, and there was a certain route you had to do and empty the bins, and you'd leave all the bags up there. And that afternoon, my mum or dad would come up and pick all the bags up then once you'd filled them, a bit like working for the council. And two of my mates were sitting on the wall. They'd had fish and chips. It was coming up for lunchtime. They were sitting there with a bag of chips. And I had to walk past them. All right, boy, what, Joe? Taking the piss out of me a little bit, but not too much, because I had a bit of an attitude. I was a bit of a little rocket. And I went up this road, down this. When I come back down, fucking chips were all over the floor and the paper, and I just picked it. Now I told you I got OCD. Listen, not only have they ruined what I called clean about 10 minutes ago, they're supposed to be my mates. So obviously school the next day was very interesting.
Yeah.
I might have got about 6 weeks detention for that one, but they never dropped any litter.
I bet they didn't.
And actually nobody ever took the piss out of me again.
Yeah.
And then that business, as I went off roofing, my mum started doing it for my dad, and he was doing a bit. He would sweep, they would pick. Then her friends started doing it. And before you knew it, we had Staplers, Marden, Coxheath, and all these parish councils used to be allocated a certain amount of money to keep their village clean every year. Right. So my mum and dad would go, we called it Sweep Clean. Yeah. To buy these road sweepers. And eventually there was a week's work for 4 or 5 people there doing all these villages sweeping. Then obviously having a road sweeper, it led to him getting offered to hire these sweepers out. Right. So I was roofing, and he said, do you want to come back? We'll start this company called Sweep Clean, and we'll build it, and we'll start hiring them and buying and selling them. I said, listen, I'll have a go at that. I had my HGV, don't pass my HGV. And between him, my mum and my dad, we started then buying them. We got involved with Scarabs, which was a sweeping manufacturer in Marden, and we would be buying. My dad would go to an auction on a Thursday, Friday, buy this second-hand council road sweeper, and I swear to God, by the following 4 or 5 days, it would be totally resprayed, all refurbished, serviced on the back of a lorry, ready to be delivered on a Monday morning or whatever. Because some nights we worked till 8, 9, 10 o'clock. We'd go and have our dinner, go back down, put our overalls on, and if we had to work through the night to get a lorry ready for hire, my dad just thought that was normal. Yeah, and so did I.
You.
Honestly, and that business grew quite well. The sweeper company then loved our family little business, and they used to demonstrate them all over the world even. And they said, would you rent yourself? Would you hire yourself to us and become demonstrators? You take a lorry, you go and meet a sales rep, you drive it, because one thing we could do is show people how to drive them, because we've been driving them so long now. So we started doing that, and then I was off doing it. My dad was off doing it. We went round all around the world. It was Italy, France. Wow. From Land's End to John O'Groats, I must have been in every council in this country with a sweeper at some stage, probably over, I'm trying to think of how many years. I'm terrible for years, but 5, 6, 7, 8 years, just one after the other. My dad say, well, you do it this week, I'll do it next week. And then while I'm at home, then he'd go on a pipeline, so I'd have to carry on doing it. And when I think back, and when you said about this, I was trying to think of all the things I've done. And I remember Scarabs saying to us once, we're going into France, obviously. I need to do a lot. It was the francs then, it wasn't the euros, it was in the franc.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember them giving me an envelope with 1,000 francs in it. And then we had the big road maps.
I remember those days,
Google Maps, something like that. The big road map. They gave me 6 addresses. And my first address, I had to go over on, it was the ferry then, we didn't have the tunnel then, it was on the ferry. I had to get on a ferry. I think I must have been 21.
Wow.
I'm on a little 7.5 ton lorry with a mini sweeper on the back, which is like the size of a transit van, called a Scarab Miner. They've basically given me a lorry, a sweeper. They've given me €1,000, an address and a roadmap, and told me to meet this man, this French man, at this hotel. Beardo, if you asked a 21-year-old to do that now,
No chance.
and I look and I think,
Was you shitting yourself? Can you remember?
do you know, in a way I was, but I was more shitting myself because I had to drive on the other side of the road.
Of
I've
course.
never driven in another country.
I forgot about that.
I didn't know about tolls. They had to teach me that on a Sunday, HGVs weren't allowed on the road on a Sunday, so I had to just have a day off on a Sunday and be with his sales rep. But I think the most funniest thing was when I got there, the sales rep never spoke a word of English.
Oh, shut up.
But I can honestly tell you now, it was one of the best times of my life.
Was it?
He showed me. I don't know how he was sign language or how he was communicating.
Yeah.
I knew everything he was almost saying to me. And I can't even really put my I just remember nothing like that ever fazed me. I just have a go at it.
That's
I
21.
saw some beautiful places in the world, and he took me to some vineyards, and
Did he?
and he's going like, food, and he was teaching me some of the local food, and I'll get the odd word here, there, and everywhere, and I was like Del Boy. I thought like gosh to Monge to Del Boy, and I thought I knew little words. I was probably worse.
21.
He probably took more of the piss out of me.
Yeah.
But he would talk to the client. He would sell the vehicle.
Yeah.
I'd drive it, show him how to work it, and we just had a connection. And I think I went there for 2 or 3 weeks. Then they started going to Scotland. They put a franchise in Scotland. And the funny story at Scotland, they gave me this sweeper. This time now, this is like I've got my HGV. This is now an 18-ton lorry. I've driven it all the way to Scotland. And in Falkirk, there was a manufacturer called Applied Sweepers, and they were going to become the new franchisees of Scotland. So they wanted a trainee to go up and teach them how to drive it. It was going to take me around numerous places. And once again, I was always brought up. My dad was like, sweaties and jocks and all that, and heathens and the back. I tell you honestly, the loveliest people are. Again, I think a lot of people, one bit of advice, go to some of the deepest depths of Wales and Scotland and Ireland. Yeah. We all go all over the world looking for these beautiful fountains, waterfalls, and mountains and all these sort of stuff. I saw some breathtaking places and some of the loveliest people. But I'll never forget the very first meeting I ever had was in Glasgow City Council. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd been up the night before. I'd stayed in a travel lodge and I was ready to get in there. I was all keen. I drove in to the yard and I could hear this little tapping and it was almost like something was hit my vehicle. And I thought, what's that? And I could hear it. And there was like you can sense there's something's not right here. And what it was, Scarab Sweepers demonstrated lorry was a white cab with a green body.
Right.
And obviously, as you know, the green and blue, the Glasgow and Edinburgh and all that type of stuff. When I drove in, I thought, and one of the geezers, literally as I pulled in, was effing and jeffing at me. You fucking get out of this yard and run. I'm thinking, what have I done? Obviously, the manager came out and said, listen, I've got to tell you, I know this sounds really funny. You cannot bring that vehicle in here. These are blue.
Oh,
You've got to understand. These boys, the colour green to them.
Yeah, it's massive.
You're pulling
the
in.
enemy.
You might as well have like Celtic
That's
written
so
all
true.
over you, yeah. And I was like, I didn't understand it. So I had to get on the phone to Scarabs. I said, we got a serious problem here. What's the matter? I said, they will not let me in the council yard with a green body because of all the green and blue and all the politics and religions up here. And they said, you're joking? I said, no. And I never I had to get flat out. They sent a driver that morning with a plain white one.
Oh, really?
And I had to drive, and I think it was about 6-8 hours or whatever it was, and we met in the middle, swapped over, and I drove back all day. And then the next morning at 6 o'clock, I pulled back in that yard, and it was plain white. And they never... And
they didn't say a thing.
So it's a learning curve, do you know what I mean? And you just think...
yeah, I know how passionate they are.
Again, it was just crazy times. But so we got into the sweepers, hiring them out. Then we was on motorways. We was then hiring them out, on construction site, everything it was going out on hire. They was doing the villages. We had a little bit of a thing going, but I just always felt a little bit like my dad was very old school.
Give me 2 seconds of your time. Just want to say again a massive thank you. Please listen to this message. It's really important to me, and I know It affects so many people. Thank you. My experience with ADHD is real. It's affecting thousands of children across the UK every day. But too often our schools overlook the signs, labelling kids destructive, lazy or unmotivated. The truth, these students aren't failing. The system's failing them. We need to be vigilant. Teachers, parents and leaders must recognise the signs, offer support and fight for every child's right to learn in a way that works for them. Because when the schools ignore ADHD, we're not just letting the kids down, we're holding them back. Let's do better.
There was no such thing as HR. There was no, I wanted the branding. I obviously always had something in me. I wanted I wanted a sweeper with our name, Sweep Clean, written all over it. My dad was like, it's going to cost 200 quid back in them days. But for somehow I wanted that branding. So I don't know where I got that from.
Yeah.
I just like the fact, I don't know if it was an ego thing, perhaps, to say, it's my sweeper, look at this, I like it. Got one, everyone thinks you got two. You got two, everyone, and I've used that ethos through my business life now. But he was very, like, he would answer the phone, hello? And I would say, Dad, we do all this advertising, answer it, Sweep Clean. Good morning, Sweep Clean. Yeah. My dad ain't like that.
No.
He's so old school.
Old school.
Lovely geezer, but just hasn't got that business brain in him. And I was with a friend of mine. She worked for Rent-A-Kill Hygiene.
Okay.
Which is now Initial.
Right.
And she said, and I said, I love the sales part of it. And she said to me, why don't you ever get into sales? I said, I'd love to. And obviously, without even knowing it, I've been doing it most of my life. I said, I'd love to. She said, well, if ever you want to get into sales, she was very knowledgeable in that. She was way above me. And she said, you need to go to a blue chip company.
Yeah.
And it needs to be good training and you need to get a real corporate feel. And I thought, she said, and Rent-A-Kill do Rent-A-Kill pest control. So a lot of the girls work for the hygiene side of the business, and a lot of the boys, how it was split then back then in them days, is the boys went and done pest control.
Right.
But what they do is you go into a classroom for 3 months. They do not let you out into the field.
Wow.
So you have 3 months of blue chip training. I was thinking, I think I could do this. Interview, got offered a job, told my dad I wanted to leave. He was absolutely, as you can imagine, that didn't go down too well. But he understood, so did my mum. And Christ, I remember turning up and they asked me if I knew how to use a laptop. And I was playing football then for Staples Morris. And Ian Humphries, his missus, said to me, come round tonight, I'll make you a bit of dinner and I'll teach you. Because I said, they said, rang me up and they said, computer, you IT little? I went, yeah, I can do all that. Apart from Atari 800, I'd never pressed the button on one. Do you know what? I'd had a bit of dinner around Ian Humphries' house and she showed me how to turn it on, how to just get through the basics. That's all I needed. Was I'll wing it. I'm brilliant at it. Done that, got the job, was in this, and then they started, they really did teach me. And that 3 months was an amazing time for me because I've gone from my dad ducking and diving to this corporate world of how to make a call, how to make an appointment, how to get do an audit, how to do a proposal, everything that I use in my life now. The importance of getting a proposal right and wrong and etc. Then it'd start role playing. We'd be in a big classroom and they would role play. I couldn't wait to get out there. I loved role plays. Yeah. But other people find it
they fall apart. Yeah, I've seen people fall apart with it.
And I totally understand it.
Yeah, of course.
I just used to love it.
I'm the same.
Beardo, I could tell you this now. The last 6 weeks of that training, I was like a dog in the trap wanting to get out there. I was so buzzing. Yeah, I love that. I think at the time I was living with PJ, my friend PJ at the time, and I remember bringing home all the homework, and I'd bring home, because from pest control, you had to learn all about rodents and cockroaches and flies and all their breeding habits, and I studied it all.
Did you?
I was on it, but all I wanted to do was get out there.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted to go. And after 3 months, they literally say, right, Monday, on the Friday, you had to prep and plan and show them where you was going. It was all that constructive stuff. And I totally got it, done it. And I don't know if I still do. I'd have to ask one day. But I went out and for years, I held the record for the highest sales ever in someone's first month of going out selling on
Really?
The road. And It's because I was just so hungry. I was obsessed with it. I wanted, mate.
Like-
I could see where the money was.
Yeah, yeah.
Back then, they're all trying to sell a rat box for £299 it was back then. But I went to these offices, and if you put bird netting up and all that it's like 20 grand's worth of jobs. You can imagine me. I was straight in. Don't worry about your rat box. I need one of them jobs. And I was selling all the spikes on the windowsill, all the wires. so all them buildings up in London that look like an hedgehog. It's because I sold them all. All the bird protection.
But that's again thinking ahead of everyone else.
But Beardo, do you know what? That was tough work, mate.
Was it?
That was prepping of a night.
Was it?
You couldn't leave that office until you had your whole week planned out. You had to be at a certain place. Your manager would turn up and ring you 10 minutes before a call and say, "Oh, you're going in to see so-and-so today? Yeah, I'm just up the road. I'll come and join you." So you never lied. You had to get it right. It was tough then, but again, it's another little foundation.
Again, I was about to say.
So now I've got the work ethic from my dad, and now I've got this blue chip.
The know-how.
The blue chip know-how.
Yeah.
I had to really do it.
So on that blue chip, Jamie, explain to the people that will be listening, what is blue chip?
Well, blue chip basically is your on the stock market, floating on the stock market, your big corporates. So your Virgin Airlines, all your pest controls, your initials. If I was in the waste industry like I am now, it would be like your Veolias, the big companies. It's basically the larger you get, the more it's the responsibilities. Yeah, of course. But it's the professionalism of it as well. And a blue chip company will boost the chemist and franchises and chains. But little old you or me would never get an opportunity to bid for some of the work they do because they're obviously in that world. Yeah. So, and they teach you, everything was about HR, everything was about health and safety. And, I've gone from laying under sweepers with jacking up things and trying to learn, wow, I was a little bit naughty then, and now this is the right. But this is a little bit too good for me. Yeah. This is a little bit.
Need to find her.
Got to get in that middle.
I agree.
There's black, there's white, and there's a little bit of grey.
I agree.
And you don't bend the rules. You don't ever, I think one thing you learn when you're in business and you've ever had accidents or anything like that, health and safety is one thing. You want everybody to come to work. You want everybody to go home to their family. Yeah, so you don't loopholes like that. Some of the risks I took when we was young with my dad. And
different though, wasn't it?
Different.
Swing from scaffolds and all sorts. Of course you do. You used to get. I remember I was working in Harrods and I was in this room when I was a guy called Johnny Scanlon, and I was punching away at the ceiling to get a hanging equipment on it, and this health and safety guy, Scottish guy, comes in and says, "Hey, son, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, what do you mean? I'm trying to get a bracket." He said, "This fucking room's closed." I went, "Wow, what's up?" He says, "There's asbestos everywhere." That's what I mean. I'm like banging it.
Of course it is.
Snorting it. Yeah. I'm like, and he was like, didn't understand, did we? And that was the way we were. So there's got to be a better, for me, again, I was in the corporate world for 7 years, and the health and safety was like to another level.
It can get frustrating. When they look at building a bridge now, and they look at putting a motorway or a school in, the health and safety and the compliance side of it is as expensive as the build nowadays.
Exactly that.
It's phenomenal.
It's unbelievable.
I've had businesses before, I walk past offices and I think, that office is costing me 150 grand, that's costing me 150 grand, there's about 200 grand's worth of salary all in them offices. Ain't none of them bringing any work in.
No.
But it's compliance, it's insurance, it's health and safety.
It is.
It's HR.
I've seen the big difference in the last probably, 15 years on the certifications, the accreditations, and all the stuff that comes with a business now. Yeah. When we first ever started, we didn't need anything. Someone said to me, you need safe contractor, I think it was at the time, and I'm like, is that all I need? Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't even get for a PPQ now for a tender opportunity. Exactly. If you want the bigger boys, you've got to run with it.
Exactly that. So I think there is a medium ground in there.
Yeah. So it went from Rentokil Initial, and then one day I got a phone call and I got headhunted. And Yellow Pages were looking for salespeople then, and I thought, well, listen, I love the sales, and it was a better salary and a better car, all the little perks that you wanted at them ages. So I went over, I left there, I went to Yellow Pages, again, loved it, got on really well, graft again, prepping and planning the day before. If I'm coming to see you at your business, the night before, I'm downloading your website, I'm looking at your advert that you put in I'm designing you a new advert, I'm coming to you with every bit of knowledge, trying to convince you to spend more money. Yell.com had just come out then, so I was learning about building websites for people and trying to sell that as well. And again, I was flying. I loved it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just in
Just
my
great
DNA.
at sales.
Yeah, absolutely
Natural.
in my DNA. And was doing very well. I was living here in Baltimore-on-Chelsea. I lived in Baltimore-on-Chelsea. I had my first son, Jacob. He was literally a baby.
How old was you then?
Oh, Christ, now you're asking. So what am I, 54? He's, what is he, 20?
Got you.
24. I was 30. Yeah,
30.
30.
Yeah, same age.
So I was coming up for 30.
Yeah.
Got an Audi A4. I don't know what I was on then, about 40
Yeah.
grand a year, you know. And then that was good for me.
Yeah,
I'd
great
done
money.
well, and because half the time working for my dad, I never got paid hardly anything for it, like, you know, so anything like that. So at our house, at our first little baby, Jacob come along, and he was a little bambino, and that's when Monksy walked into my life again.
Yeah. And how did you meet him?
I've been to school with Richard. I've been since we were 4
okay.
years old. So me and Richard have known each other 50 years.
Wow.
So 50 years we've been mates. We were back to back in the playground. I grew up. He was one of my best friends going through my younger days. And I used to enjoy being with Richard. His mum and dad had a pub.
Yeah, I remember.
And obviously Black Horse at Headcombe.
Yeah.
And they had a real different life compared to what I had.
Yeah.
So I used to quite like going to Richard's. It was a little bit calmer, and his mum and dad would have every Monday off because the pub would close, and his mum and dad would take us out for dinners, you know. And I never been on holiday. I never had these nights.
I can't believe you put the word calm in between Richard.
Well, because there was a stage in his life, and he'll laugh at this, when he's always been a bit crazy and that lot, but I've always had his back.
Nice.
Always. We grew up together. And I think he'd just come over to see the baby. And at the time he'd met a lady called Sharon. She was in the fashion industry, Fenwright Manson she worked for. Okay. Very, very well-to-do lady, very educated, and in a very strong position in the fashion industry in London. And it was just talking away. And at the time, Richard again had done a bit of ducking and diving, you know, what he hadn't done, he'd had a go at. And he, at the time, had what we call a waste brokerage business. So he had an old boy sitting up Union Street, and you would get a skip, ring up for a skip. Can I have a 6-yard skip? You'd go to a skip company, get it for £100, tell the client it's £110, make a tenner out of it. And that's how you did it. You just turn it over. Yeah. And he made a little living out of it, and it would go up and down. He wasn't that, you know, he was off doing all his DJing, all his bits that he wanted to do, and living the life like he did. And then I think eventually it was getting to the stage where every time the skip driver turned up, he was giving his business card to the client. So, well, you could have got that off me for £100. Like, you know what people are like. So Richard was going. So he said, I've spoke to Sharon, and her boss from the fashion industry is gonna lend me or invest in the business and give me 75 grand. And I'm going to buy a skip lorry, and I'm going to try and do it myself. So because I've come from the sweeper background, and you know, bearing in mind, now, I've had this corporate education, and I'm trying to, and I said to him, really, if I'm being honest, what benefit is someone in the fashion industry? Yeah. If someone asked me to invest, I'll be like,
in fashion,
that's money. Yeah. So I said, why don't you just go to the bank for that? I said, what you need someone who knows about HGVs or knows about lorries. And I was basically talking about myself. Of course. And I remember him sitting there with a big grin on his face, and I went, "Yeah, you need someone who knows lorries, and you can't just buy a skip because he'd never had a lorry. He didn't even have a license, bless him. And who's got an HGV?" And he just sat there like that. He went, "You come and do it then." Yeah. And I went, "Nah, don't be silly." And all of a sudden he started saying, "No, seriously, why don't you think about it? Why don't you do it?" I said, "Richard, I'm Keiko. I'm on 40 bags a year. I've got an Audi A4 out there. I've got my baby. I'm happy. Why do I want to do it?" But I never slept for a week. Really? He walked out the door. I said, "See you later." He said, seriously, he said, "Have a think about that." Walked out the door, and I never slept for a week. And
was the reason you didn't sleep because you knew, or do you since sleep? Yeah.
I just kept thinking, that's me. Yeah. That's a bit of me. Yeah. I didn't have a clue about the waste industry. No, never knew anything about Beardo. So on the phone to Rob Emmons, we all know Rob. He's my finance man, sorted my mortgages out. I said, "Rob, if I wanted to pull a bit of equity out of my house, what have I got in it?" And I think at the time it was about 55 grand I'd left in it, maxed it right out. And I said, and could I get it out? And he said, "Yeah, not a problem." And I kept laying there thinking 55, I know what's 70. I'd catering business with my dad as well. I said to my dad, can I cash that up? Would you give me, I think $5 grand at the time, $5 grand saved. I think it was 65 grand, I could say. I was 10 grand shy of what he needed. And I remember my wife at the time just going to me, will you just go to sleep? Just do whatever you got to do. Just bloody do it, will you? I got on the phone to him the next day and I said, listen, look, I can get 65 grand. Do you reckon we could do it with that? And we never looked back, do you know what I mean? And I jacked my job in. I had every penny that I could find and scrape, even sold my car even, do you know what I mean? To get every penny I could just to have a go. We bought the first skip lorry with a credit card.
Yeah.
You know, Richard was great. You know, I learned so much from him because I was safe. You know,
Yeah, of course.
Grafted. I knew how to graft. He knew how to. He was smart, cute, ran a piano. And we always say, was a couple of second-year educated guys that we walked into this little office in Union Street. I said, right, you put your desk here, I'll put my desk here, and it literally, you're almost looking at each other going, right, what do we do now? Well, we've got this yard, and we're going to rent this little yard off our mate Yates here, and we're going to get we're going to put these skips down. We have to buy these skips. Then you realise, bloody hell, they're quite expensive, these skips, aren't they? And you just go in and you invoice factor, so you knew as quick as you could invoice, you could raise some cash, because cash was king in our day. And beardo, we just hit the road running. I'll never forget walking down through Masonry. It was just refurbing HSBC on the corner of Week Street.
Yes.
All the Harris fencing round it. And I don't know what I was doing. And I remember getting on the phone to Richard going, how much is a 12-yard skip? He goes, and I can't remember what it was at the time, 180 quid.
Yeah.
He goes, 180 quid. I said, have we got any movement on that? Can we do anything? No, yeah. And so he on the phone, I literally had 100 yards because in my head, I was going to walk into HSBC and I was going to sell this builders a 12-yard skip. And it must have just been luck. I just got this guy, because normally if you walked into there now, they'd tell you to F off. Or whatever,
of course.
Ring up my procurement manager,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You know, don't come for head of it.
Yeah.
This guy, for some reason, I must have just got him on a good day. I said to him, look, we're a local business, me and my business partner, we can get skips in here. How many skips you got? I said, yeah, we've got 5 skips. We only had one.
Yeah.
You know, like skip lorries. And he said, right now, he said, what's your price? Wait, there he goes. So he rings his head office. How much are we paying for these 12-yarders? Whether he'd had a bad service or a bit of a... And I just hit it off with him. And we got the skips in. And Richard went, I cannot believe you just walked into there before you even knew what you was doing.
Yeah, of course.
But it was people.
Yeah.
And that guy, this is no word of a lie, that guy left HSBC. We done every single skip in there. He left HSBC and went and built Fremlin's Walk. So me and Richard had all the waste out of Fremlin's Walk. It's even better. When they was building it, I had all the cleaners in there. Yeah. So when they handed over to House of Fraser, I had 20, 30 guys and girls polishing floors, cleaning ceilings. Because again, this guy said to me, "Do you know any cleaners?" I said, "Yeah, I saw it." And we just got all our friends and family. I had cousins, sisters, brothers, everybody working in this place. Yeah. That's how it works.
And I think that's a lesson for anyone that's listening, is that I was speaking to Emma who owns Fed, and she said the word pivot. Yeah. And I think it's a great terminology, is that you pivot, right? Yeah. You said cleaners, we can do it.
Absolutely.
And you know what? I interviewed, I don't know if you know him, but Craig Knight, he's called, and he owns Kent Drains.
Yeah.
And he said, it's very similar to what you said, is about you only have one skip. Yeah. And he only had one van, but he told his client that he's got, a fleet and stuff like that.
Unbelievable.
And I think those are the stories, and we were the same, with what we did. You just adapt to the situation as quickly as possible. Like people say, did you have a strategy? There's no strategy. You're just bouncing from one thing.
I didn't even understand what a strategy was when I started.
Of course, me too.
And the learning curves, I could sit here for days and talk about it anyways, because again, we made some great decisions. We made some shocking decisions. And we had some great times. We would, in our industry, in the waste industry, you have brokers, a bit like the insurance industry. They're phenomenally wealthy. Right. Don't even own a lorry. They literally will win Costa Coffee, the contract for Costa Coffee in the UK. They get hold of us in Kent and go, how many of the Costa Coffees can you do in Kent? I'll give you them 10. And they would broker it out. So that's literally how they work. One of our biggest clients at the most still today turn over 180 million, and they're a broker. Don't even own a lorry. They just work in, work out. So we got a great relationship with these brokers. Yeah. And me and Richard used to drive to the brokers. Most of them were in Birmingham, Telford, all round down on the coast, Portsmouth. But we were very good at, me and him could go into one of these meetings, and I'll never forget going to Telford. We went to Telford and we would make our meetings in the afternoon. And we'd say, right, listen, we're coming up tonight. We're going to get half a dozen. We're all going to go out and have a few drinks. And you can imagine what Monks is like. We had some great times. Fucking champagne. These people are all, I love you too. You're like, and I'll never forget next morning, like we're hungover and like, and he'd drive with one eye and he'd be like, you know what Richard's like.
Yep.
And he'd drive and I'll be in the passenger seat. And I remember coming back from Birmingham once and we'd bullshitted and told this broker that we had 8 lorries. We didn't have nowhere near enough. And on the way back from Birmingham, by the time we got back to Snodland, we'd bought 2 brand new Scania skip lorries ready to go. They were cancelled orders. Yeah. We'd gone from daft to who's got them, and we'd done a 4-hour journey, bought 2 skip lorries, and they was with us within a week. So you just do it. You
I was about to say, there's plenty of people out there with excuses, isn't there? Like we were talking about earlier. Yeah. And if you really want to do it, you can do it. Listen, you've done it. Like you've started with nothing, and you've got like you've gone.
And listen, I made some big mistakes. There were times when you sell your business and you've done all right in life. I can tell you all the stories about the beaches and the champagne and the kettles and the cars. Yeah. Do you know what?
They come and go, don't they,
Instagram's full of that shit.
Yeah, it is.
Tell you what it's not full of, the times that me and Richard were in our office at 8 o'clock at night and I had my head in my hands and I was near on in tears because we didn't have enough money to pay the wages the next day or the tipping bill. Yeah. And when you have that, I don't know why I even went home to go to bed because I never slept all night. No. We've got to make that decision. If I don't pay these drivers, I've got no business. If I can't pay them the tipping, I've got no business. I don't know. We've run out of money. Yeah. We've got a bit carried away with ourselves. It's invoice factoring. We went from 80, 85, 90%. And Richard was learning, I was learning. And the bank manager had to come to us tell a lie. It was that evening. We got on the phone to the bank manager and he said, look, I can't do nothing. I can't help you. I'm not about until at least tomorrow afternoon. But if we put anything in place for you boys, it won't be until the Thursday or whatever. Yeah. We was like, what are we going to do? And Richard come up with an idea that we had a fleet of lorries, obviously, and we had what were called big roll-on, roll-off. So a big 8-wheel DAF. And we had about 4 of them out in the yard. He went, we're going to sell a lorry. We picked up the phone and our friend Brad at Airport Autos used to buy all of our second-hand lorries off of us. Lovely guy. We said, Brad, I need some help. He said, what's up, boys? We said, we're desperate for some cash. Would you buy one of our DAFs off us? Give him the registration number. He said, I'll be there at 6 o'clock next morning. I swear to God, 6 o'clock next morning, Brad walked through our office door, and by 8 o'clock that morning, Richard had given him the logbook. We sold the lorry for, I think, if I remember right, Richard will probably remember better than me, it was 60, 70 grand's worth. Yeah. The money was in our bank. We managed to pay the wages. We got by. And I'll never forget it. About 6 weeks later, Richard come in my office. He goes, we've made a bit of a fuck up. I said, what we done?
This episode of Underdog to Owner is sponsored by Romax Solution. If you're a construction business and you know growth brings a new challenge, finding the right people to keep the projects moving, one missing tradesperson can slow the entire site down. That's where Romax Solutions come in. Romax Solutions is a UK trade and labour agency supplying skilled trades and reliable labour to construction companies that need to scale quickly, fill urgent gaps or support busy projects. So instead of stressing about staffing, you can focus on delivering the job. If you need dependable workers on site, visit romaxsolutions.co.uk to learn more. Romax Solutions, helping construction businesses build, grow and deliver. Thanks. I would just like to add, Danny, who is the founder of Romax, has supported me through my new journey, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you, not only for the sponsor, but for always being you. Thank you.
He said, we've made a bit of a mess up. I said, what we done? He said, you know that lorry we sold Brad? I said, yeah. He said, with the bit of lifting gear on the back of it, it's called a hook loader. We finance that separately. He said, it's still on finance. He's got it. It's still on finance. He said, but don't worry, we're not even going to tell no one. We're just going to carry on. It was only about 180 quid a month, something like that. Yeah. He said, fuck 'em, we'll carry on paying it. and we just got by. Just winged it. We got by.
There's a lesson there.
They are the times, you know, that HSBC, when it opened, become our bank. The bank manager used to be in there, a great guy. His son ended up playing football with me. And I remember at a meeting with the bank manager. I got in the office at 6 o'clock in the morning. I had a shirt on, ready to put my tie on, and my trousers, shoes. Driver never turned up. You know, and we're a service provider.
Yeah.
It was overalls on beard, and I'll never forget it. Out delivering skips in the morning. I pulled up out because you could drive outside HSBC then in the main high street. I put all the beacons on so it looked like I was doing a job. I took my overalls off, left all the beacons on the lorry, and run in and had a meeting with the bank manager, with Richard, and then come back out, jumped in the skip lorry and carried on. But
that's brilliant.
But that came natural because I always say every business, Beardo, has got to be like a swan.
Yeah.
People don't care if your driver's sick. People don't care if you had a breakdown. People don't care all your issues going on behind the scene. They don't care.
Don't give a shit.
What they want to see is you just floating down the river.
That's it.
The legs underneath like that.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that.
They don't want to see the legs.
So you've got to be the swan and we're the legs underneath.
Yeah, that's a good.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I love
and it's
that.
Truth.
That is so true. No one gives a shit about your problems. They need
but you're
the job
a service provider.
Exactly that.
If I want to skip, I want it. And that's how it is.
And I think that's the hardest point about trying to tell your staff that as well, and trying to educate them to say that, you know, my biggest, I used to get really upset with it, where people, you know, just have day off or they'll have time off, you know, and you've got, you know, that one person that doesn't turn in, there's like a ripple effect. I say it to everyone. I said, but you're not turning in because you're, you know, whatever excuse you've made today, that's going to now put that on that person, and that person's not going to be able to perform it to that, or you let the client down, and the client's then ringing myself because again, early days, you know, you took everything. I picked up every call. Yeah. You know,
exactly
I wanted to be.
I'd overhear someone. What was that?
Yeah,
I heard the word "no" in my office.
Yeah,
that's
it.
No, that was like a red flag to a ball.
Me too.
And it'd be like, no, why no? And then they would tell me, I go, no, that's a no, but what about this? And why can't we do this? And I used to try and educate them and write it on the whiteboard. Yeah. Let's always find an answer to it. I love the ripple effect. See, I use that philosophy all the time.
Do you?
Because the pebble going in the water is a problem.
Yeah.
But it's not a problem we need to focus on, because what them people who've just dropped that pebble is, what they need to understand is the ripple effect.
Yeah, it's a ripple.
And I say that.
Oh, I say
everybody.
Yeah, me too.
I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.